this session this afternoon. Our first speaker this afternoon is Pietro Basello. He's Associate Professor of Elamite at Orientale University of Naples. Among his many areas of research are Assyriology, late Babylonian languages, Iranian philology, as well as Elamite civilization and language. His numerous contributions in this field are devoted to the study of inscriptions and language, also from a comparative perspective. The title of his talk this afternoon is Motion and Posture Verbs in Context, the Elamite Evidence. The floor is yours, and thanks to be with us.
Thank you so much for this presentation, and I would like to thank the organizer, Professor Paola Mollo, and our host for the wonderful hospitality. It's a great honor to be here and to enjoy your friendship and all the scientific debates. And I have to admit that I have greatly benefited for my paper from the previous papers. So thanks to all the colleagues, and I'm sure I will enjoy also the next one. So I have taken the word posture in a very broad way, as you will see. It is many words of posture are referring to the posture, human posture, but are used metaphorically. So are not used in reference to the position of a human being, an individual, but as a metaphor in other contexts. So I think there is no need to answer to this question because are very basic, but I would like to stress, to emphasize that elam, the word that we use today, is an umbrella term, is a conventional term, and we use it all often in reference to political situation of southwestern Iran, but I prefer to use it as a cultural term because actually the several Elamite dynasties, we don't know exactly how much they felt themselves to be Elamite. For sure, population was Elamite in the sense that spoke Elamite language. And of course, language is a strong element in the identity of an individual, of people. But so I am not so sure for the political side of this discourse. And of course, Elam is an exonym. The endonym was Hatamti, the main urban center was the city of Susa, Elamite Shushun, biblical Shushan, modern Shush, which is an Arabic city in Iran. Of course, Elam is an exonym, and we use it because it is attested in the Bible. We have no time to have a look at these occurrences, but all these 17 occurrences are very interesting. Some contexts are very curious. You know better than me, Kedorlaomer's conquest in Genesis 14, and so on. I just want to see together with you Daniel 8, because this is one of the foundation of our knowledge of Elam, and the knowledge of Elam for the past, before the archaeological discoveries in the 19th century. And so I know you know this verse. In the vision, I was looking and saw myself in Susa, the capital in the province of Elam, and I was by the river Ulai. So here Daniel is not there in Susa himself, but in vision. So he's supposed to be in Babylon, of course. And here Susa is defined as the capital, but the word is Abira, and a word that Professor Zaccagnini has discussed in a very important paper. And then Susa is in the district, in the Kora, in Greek, Medina in Hebrew, of Elam. And in the Greek translation, in the Septuagint, there is also another very interesting addition, because there is Elam is called Elumais, which is the Greek name of Elam, and then at the gate of Elam, and this time you can see it is called Ilam. So there is a kind of differentiation between Ilam, island, and Elimais, which should be the lowland part of ancient Elam. And here there is an emphasis on the river Ulai, to stay in the river, to be in the middle of the river, that for me has a very strong connection with Mesopotamia, but this another time. There's no need to deal too much with this topic because it's not part of related to the conference. And of course, we have this wonderful paper by Peter Dubowski on the occurrences of the name Elam in the Bible, with a very good, excellent historical contextual context. And with regard to Elamite, of course, as I told you, Elamite is not exactly the same thing. It's not exactly the language of Elam. So I just want to stress that there are no linguistic connection with any of the known languages of ancient Near East, so no connection with Sumerian, Akkadian, Hittite, so it is neither Indo-European nor Semitic. But at the same time, it has, Elamite language has so many elements taken from these different languages, as Loan, as Calc, loanwords. And so it is really interdisciplinary to study Elamite. Actually, I think it is the same for every language of the ancient Near East. But so, for Elamite, we can see how much it is important to know also Akkadian, Babylonian, and also the Iranian side, Old Persian, and so on. And now, this is also important, it's a agglutinative language, subject, object, verb, and okay, you can find more detail in this paper that has been already published. And I think it is important to stress that the decipherment of linear Elamite writing add a lot to our knowledge of Elamite, and until now we have studied especially phonology, thanks to this addition to the Elamite corpus, thanks to this new, not for new in our understanding, of course, script, linear Elamite, so-called the linear writing. But the next step will be to use the new knowledge from this corpus of Elamite in this script. So Elamite was written both in linear writing and in cuneiform writing, and now we have to explore this corpus, Elamite corpus, also for grammar and morphology, and of course to understand the meaning. And there are no logograms, and it is a phonemic, more or less, writing, and so there are a lot of addition, partially alphabetic script and partially syllabic, and the usage of syllabic or alphabetic signs is well defined, and there are very accurate rules that are respected. So this is very important, and I'm sure that this conference, this paper made in 10 years, will be completely different. I would like to start with two iconographical elements. So we are in the Middle Elamite period, 12th century BC, in Susa, okay, and okay. This is the so-called Sit Shamshi. Sit, because in Elamite is written sit, but it should be a loan from Akkadian, and so it is very nice because this morning this word was discussed, and the Professor Santo Paolo, and it is from Akkadian, Sit Shamshi, the exit of the sun, so sunrise. And it is this is the name the scholars use to refer to this bronze model. Is not so big. It's a bronze base with some elements attached to it, and of course it is very nice the posture of these two human figures. One is pouring some water, I think, or some liquid from a small jug, a beaker. The other one is extending the hands, and it is considered to be a priest, the first one, and the second one, the king. And this Sit Shamshi should be a ritual to be performed, of course, at the sunrise every day, but we don't know because we don't have the richness of, for example, Hittite ritual texts that this morning have been presented so well. So here we have a very interesting iconographical, three-dimensional evidence, but no way to connect it with some text. And so I think we don't know enough. There are some details in this model. You can see a big jar at the back of the so-called king. There are trees, there is a stela, there is a basin, and of course there are very interesting parallels with Akkadian rituals, but I want also to emphasize some very loose biblical parallels. There are of course very strong differences. For example, here the priest and the king are naked, while in the Bible it is not good to present himself towards in front of the God naked. And I don't think there was a clothing, because the details of the bodies are so well represented. But of course it could be also that they were covered by a golden leaf, something like this. And perhaps the most interesting comparison is that, of course, the comparison with the basin, the big basin in the Temple of Jerusalem it's interesting that it is outdoor, not both this scene is outdoor, and of course also in the Temple of Jerusalem the basin, the water basin, Yam, was outside in the inner courtyard. As I told you in the inscription, there is no mention of this posture, just the name, Sitsamshi, of this ritual. Let's go in a little bit far, a little bit closer in time, in what I call the long 6th century BC, because this century actually was very rich. There was still Elamite polities in Susa, and also, of course, the Persians, the Achaemenid, that were rising in southwestern Iran. Now, new, very interesting evidence has been published in State Archives of Syria, volume 21, 22, and here there is a letter 21, number 106, very important letter to Assurbanipal. We have Persian attested in the area exactly between Susa and Persepolis, raiding, sacking Elamite settlements. And so it is very clear, because you know in the past it was thought that the Persians were in the north near Lake Urmia, and so now we know that they were for sure there. And an iconography that for me is very interesting is the one of the throne bearers. If you can guess where the tombs of the Achaemenid kings are on the background of this forest of lightning poles in Nashirovstam, here there are a very famous iconography with various people supporting, sustaining the platform of the king. For sure, you know already. And here we have the Persian from left to right, the Mede, the Elamite, the Persian, and so on. And for me, this iconography is very nice because it is very well conceived. All the people is supporting the platform of the king with this particular posture, and this was considered an Achaemenid, typical Achaemenid iconography, to present the king. And here there is the idea that they are submitted people, but at the same time they are supporting the king. So there is, of course, it's ideology, propaganda, this way to present the submitted people so that I think it's interesting. Actually, it's not something only Achaemenid. The style is new, but the iconography can be found also in this place, Ise, between Susa and Persepolis, where some rock carvings were found in this gorge near the modern city. Kulefara is the name, and here there are some big boulders, and the same iconography with a different style can be found. You see the big figure, which should be a king, and the king is on a platform, and thanks to the excavation of a Belgian scholar, Eric de Waal, in the 1970s, we can see that there are some kneeling figures supporting this platform. So these are Elamite, Neo-Elamite evidence dated more or less to the 600 BC, and of course the tombs of the Achaemenid king can be dated to Chemical period, so in the last part of the 6th century and the 5th century, of course. And this is a useful drawing by Javier Alvarez Mont, we can see very well. In this case, we can have some text that can help us. In the inscription, in the same upper register of the tomb of Darius, there is this mention, we can read the Elamite, Aura Mazda Picti Utash. So, Aura Mazda established aid for me. And this Elamite word, we don't know very much about this word, but we have, of course, the comparison with Old Persian. And in Old Persian, we have upa, which is Iranian, Indian for upo, for Greek upo, under, below, and then sta, which is, of course, to stay, stare in Italian, and so on. So the idea is that to stay below, to support, to sustain, means to help. And this is the usual translation, aid or help for this word, but etymologically we can see, for me, the same idea represented on the rock relief of the tomb. Here is, okay. And now I would like to present you some other textual evidence related specifically to Elam. And it is another very famous piece. We are again in the Middle Elamite period, the stela of Naram-Sin. There is a secondary inscription of an Elamite king, Shutur-Nakhunta. I can skip because I'm sure you know it is in the Louvre. Also the posture of Naram-Sin is very interesting, but we can have a look directly at the text. Okay, sorry. It has stopped, okay. The paragraph 3 and 4, Suk mutu naramsinir humak hak hutik ak hal atanti tenkik. What it is interesting here, we have some verbs of motion. So we have Suk mutu, the stela of Naram-Sin. So he was aware, the Elamite chancellery was aware that was able to read the old Akkadian inscription. So the stela of Naram-Sin, I took, humak, first person, past, and I brought, and I sent, or brought, but yes, sent could be good, to send to Atanti. And one of the main issues with Elamite is that there is no marking of a lot of morphological element of the clause in the syntax. And for this reason, you can see Atanti, which is the endonym for Elam, to send to Atanti, there is no preposition, no postposition, no case, nothing to mark it. So we have no marking for the destination, for the target, while we have a marking just for the origin. And I just want to show this other text, which is a tablet from Persepolis. In this case, we have Bakshish Mar, which means from Bakshish, from Bactria in Afghanistan. Mar is a postposition from, and then we have Shushan, the target of this motion, with the verb pari, to go. So he went to Shushan, to Susa, from Bactrish. And in this case, too, there is no marking of the destination. In this other excerpt from the inscription of Bisotun, it could seems to be different because there is a preposition here, a postposition, sorry. He went to the Medes, and here we have iki, which is considered translated to be as postposition for to. But actually this is due exactly because Mada is not the region of Media, but with this suffix p, plural, it's the Medes. So when you have your target, the target of your motion is a people, not a region, now you have to use the postposition to mark, because otherwise could be also confused as an agent of the action, of the motion. And so in this case, we have this postposition, which is considered to mean two, but only when the target is not a region, but some people. Just a very short final remark. We have also some different meaning in different conjugation. In Elamite, we have 3 conjugation, and it is not like in Italian, the same verb can have all these different form or conjugation, and the same verb pari, to go, has different meaning in different conjugation. So in this case it means to go, but in this case it means to arrive. So both went and arrived are the same verb, but in different contexts, in different form, and we have a different meaning. So pari actually was just the idea of motion, and then you have the different forms that refer to different meaning. Okay, so I think I have perhaps 1 minute, perfect. So this is a comparison. This is confirmed because we are dealing in this case with trilingual inscription, and so we can check that in the other in the other text, in Old Persian and Babylonian, actually we have different verbs. So when pari means to go in the first conjugation, we have Old Persian and Babylonian verb, shiu and alaku, you know very well both. And in the case when paru is used in the second conjugation with the meaning of to arrive for us, and then we have completely different verbs in Old Persian and Babylonian. So this is a confirmation that we have to study much more this Elamite conjugation. This is the seminal study by Elizabeth Tucker, but so a lot of new work has to be done. And very briefly, this is one of the 2 big projects now working with Elamite lexicography. It is called in a very sumptuous way, Make Elam Great Again, MEGA, directed by Catherine de Graaf and Shai Gordon, and this is exactly what Elamite needs. We don't have a database of text. And so, like, for example, for Hittite, for cuneiform, Akkadian. So this is an effort, very important, and in the future there will be much more systematic studies on this topic. So this was a very brief depiction, idea of the state of Elamite studies, and so much more has to be done working also on tablets. And so I take the same joke by Professor Avila this morning, but just to remember that all the evidence I presented you, except 1 tablet, is from royal inscriptions. And so, of course, administrative tablets and texts will add a lot more. So it is a work just at it started, beginning. Thank you so much.